Privacy here, please!
How's it going, everyone? My name is Zachary Forbes, author of Three Rivers Plague and Slipspace Terra Nullius. I write books and talk about all sorts of entertainment, and today is a very special day because we just got the first trailer for Star Wars The Acolyte. And oh boy, has it been a fun time on Twitter. As you guys could see, it appears that the trailer, pretty much everywhere it's been posted, has received more dislikes than likes. Every account on YouTube, whatever country, whatever entertainment site, seems to be experiencing this phenomenon. Now, as Twitter usually handles things, there's been quite a bit of intellectual debate on the cause behind this. I'd like to look through some of those tweets and kind of investigate, see what we're thinking, see what's really going on behind the scenes. What do we think? What do the folks on Twitter think? And, well, of course, that must be a reflection of the real world, if they're saying it on Twitter. So, let's go.
I was scared.
So before we begin, let's establish what exactly is the Acolyte. The Acolyte is set at the end of the Star Wars franchise's High Republic era, approximately 100 years before Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. It sees a respected Jedi Master investigating a series of crimes that bring him into conflict with a former Padawan learner and reveal sinister forces. This is the description on Wikipedia. The description on IMDb is even shorter. It says, Star Wars series that takes viewers into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era. Now, I know the High Republic is a running series of books, or at least it was running. I have not read them. They're part of the Disney canon, and I have been sifting through so much expanded universe, books, comics, etc., that I just have not even dipped my toes into the expanded entertainment novels, etc. for Disney. So I don't know what happens in those books. I have no experience with them, but I could understand why anybody who's read those books might be super invested in this show, because it's a little bit of a niche sort of community, and now they're getting some eyes on them, so good for them. But, you know, of course you can't bank on that audience showing up for you with a budget like this. According to some sources, the budget for The Acolyte was actually about $50 million, which is less than Kenobi at $90 million, and much, much less than something like The Force Awakens, which was almost $500 million, excluding marketing and all of that. So it's not the most expensive Star Wars project, but it is still tens of millions of dollars. And on top of that, it's on Disney Plus, a streaming service that lots of people have been checking out of, and frankly isn't making money. So if they want to make up the costs of something like this, or make up the cost of Disney Plus in general, they are going to have to bring in a broader general viewership. They can't just bank on fans of the books. And nothing but respect for fans of the books. I love me my Star Wars novels. I love the New Republic era. I love the prequel novels, Darth Plagueis. It's a great one. So no disrespect there. They just need to hit a wide audience, and they know this. So what is not clicking with general audiences? Why did the trailers get so many dislikes? Well, in order to find that out, I guess we're going to have to look on Twitter.
We'll find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
Star Wars fans still can't handle the fact that black people can be leads. Such an irritating group of people. So, right off the bat, if this is the discourse that you're having about this sort of thing, about these trailers and these shows, I'm just going to assume you're a Disney plant trying to stir up controversy and get attention to it, because this is not helpful. And it's on both sides. There's people that'll pop up and say, Star Wars is replacing white people, or they're replacing men. Those people are just as wrong. Like, a small percentage of people that are saying that, and they're stupid. That's not what's happening. We had at least 2 seasons of Mando. We had Kenobi, we had Andor, we had Book of Boba Fett. There's no shortage of white men in Star Wars. Like, that's not going anywhere. And at the same time, people hated a lot of those shows. People don't dislike something because there's black leads. They're not gonna like something automatically because there's white male leads, right? This all started with The Last Jedi, with a white female lead that had Luke Skywalker, that had all these characters in it from the original trilogy. And the thing that people disliked about it was not the race of these characters. The discourse was about the writing, the character consistency, the lore. People weren't upset because there were black characters in it, because Finn was in it. People didn't like that Finn was written poorly. People didn't like that Luke was written poorly. We need to come out and say, straight up, it is the writing that is the problem. If you were on the side of this where you were saying, I don't like how this looks, I'm not happy with the state of Disney Star Wars, it's not because of race or sex. You need to get that out of your head. That doesn't help the discourse. That's not what this is. This is about the writing. And the same thing for the people on the other side. You can't see people reacting to something like this and assume, oh, it's because they're racist. No, these same people didn't like Kenobi. These same people didn't like The Last Jedi, didn't like The Rise of Skywalker. It's not about the race of the characters. That's not the problem. And this is a useless discussion to be having. I don't want to have any more. It's better off just ignoring it, because it's probably engagement bait. I'm old enough to remember when Star Wars had aliens in it. There's more to Star Wars than lightsabers and tunic. Okay, now this is one I have heard a number of times. I'd say maybe there's a little credibility to it. It certainly does seem as though some of the shows on Disney Plus have kind of cut out a lot of the background aliens, like Tatooine, for example, in Kenobi. It seems like it's mostly human now. At least that town is, and that's a little bit strange, considering in A New Hope it was booming with alien life. So I definitely get that. I mean, lower budgets, right? The movies have more money to work with for makeup and prosthetics and all that. So I guess the movies just tend to have more aliens. I definitely understand if you think that this is a strange difference in the shows, but I don't think that's the issue with this trailer, right? The Acolyte, it seemed like there was some aliens in there. There was a child alien in that one room when they were meditating, the kids, and there's a Wookiee Jedi and all that. So I don't think this is inherently the problem with this show, right? I think it makes sense for this to be a gripe, but I think it's deeper than that. I think it goes further than not enough aliens. It's clear, after seeing numerous reactions to the Acolyte trailer, that a lot of you are just actively choosing to find something to hate about it. That's just sad and childish. Look, maybe people are looking for things to hate about it. Maybe people are looking just as desperately for things to like about it. I don't think it speaks to the abject quality of the trailer or the show, because people are looking for one particular thing or another. I don't think over half of the Star Wars fandom is just looking for something bad to say, and that's why there's more dislikes. Obviously, there's a reason why people don't like what they're getting. It's not just 160,000 people being stubborn. That's what's always bothered me about this whole fandom menace thing, When the general audience doesn't like something, when a huge portion of the viewership dislikes something, That's not pettiness. That's not some kind of internalized thing. There's a reason why people don't like it. And right now, Disney Star Wars is in a position where they really have to fight to earn faith back from the viewership, you know? They're not in a position right now where people are going to assume the next thing is good. They're just not. A lot of their projects have let people down. People were disappointed with Kenobi. That was the last of their big hitters. Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. People being disappointed in that, I feel like, was pretty much the final straw. And of course, before that, you had the sequel trilogy, which a lot of people were disappointed in, especially the last two. I don't think you can say at this point that people are looking for things to hate. I think people are looking for things to like and not finding it. I think they want to have faith in Star Wars again, and they just don't under Disney. That doesn't mean the show won't be good. That doesn't mean there's not gonna be good things in it. It just means that Disney has to fight hard to earn that attention, that adoring fan base back. It's not gonna be as easy as it would have been 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's just not. And that's largely on them and the directions that they have taken. So blaming the fan base, I'm just not there for it. I don't blame the fan base. If the fan base is dissatisfied, it's because the product was not done in a way that satisfied their biggest supporters. And that's that. Vernestra Rouault has a purple lightsaber that can turn into a whip. Apologies for butchering that name, but good for her. You know? Can we please just start boycotting at this point? So I guess this one is about the hair, I think. I don't think people like that hair. I guess it was in like Spider-Man and Fortnite and stuff, and I guess it's not realistic or something. I wouldn't know. I'm not the expert on this. If you guys have any opinions on it, feel free to let me know in the comments. It doesn't look horrible to me, but maybe it's offensive or something. I don't think that's the reason why people disliked the trailer. But if you've got a problem with it, yeah. I mean, you have every right to have a problem with it. If it's offensive or just ugly or something. Star Wars is dead. Lucas has sided with his own abusers. I'm not sure if Lucas lost his mind or lost his soul. And I never thought I'd say this, but here it is. F you, George. This one's just a little silly. I guess George Lucas came out in support of like Disney Star Wars. He's like, yeah, I like the sequels. I like the Disney Plus stuff. George Lucas is the biggest shareholder in Disney right now. He still makes money off of these things, and it's his creation. He's not going to come out and say, don't watch these movies. Especially with all 9 of them coming out in theaters in like a month or two. He's not going to do that. He wants to make money. Right? It's just how it is. It was crazy that Mark Hamill was willing to trash talk The Last Jedi, for so long. Most of the time that doesn't happen. Most of the time people sit down, they support the films that they're making money off of, and they don't say their opinions. So I don't know how George Lucas really feels. Does he like the sequels? Maybe he does. I don't care if he does. That doesn't mean I have to like him. George Lucas made plenty of mistakes in his career. Right? There's plenty of things in the Star Wars movies that he's responsible for that aren't great. Objectively. Plenty of people dislike the Leia being Luke's sister plot twist. And that was him. Whereas The Empire Strikes Back, a lot of that wasn't him. A lot of that was people he was working with or by committee. George Lucas is not Star Wars. Right? He's the guy who birthed it, but he's not the only guy involved. And just because he feels a certain way doesn't mean you have to feel that way, or that that's the only way to feel. This is a stupid thing to be debating about. It's probably not his actual opinion. And even if it is, who cares? That doesn't make the writing better. That doesn't make the products better. That's just his opinion. Star Wars was successful because it tapped into the natural imagination of boys. Samurai aesthetic, chivalric honor code, sword fights, space exploration. Turning it into girl bosses LARPing as Jason Bourne is hilarious. Look, I get the whole idea of like men's action figures sell better than women's or whatever. I get that there's a demographic. You can measure what the demographics are for purchasing tickets, purchasing toys and stuff. But Star Wars was successful because it was good. It had good writing. It had a good team that took time and made good scripts that they edited and revised, and they kept track of canon. It's really that simple. It's not some kind of esoteric barbarian mindset that made Star Wars successful. It was successful because it was a good story. Because it was made well. People like good stories. You know, you can make a good story with a female protagonist. Look at Aliens, those movies. This is a great protagonist. And it's a female. It shouldn't just appeal to men. It doesn't have to just be a male protagonist with male values. There's plenty to love about a female protagonist, like Laura Croft, right? People love that character, men and women alike. I don't get this whole manosphere thing where you gotta turn it into something deeper than it really is. It's not. It's not that serious. Write a good story with good characters, and don't cheapen your characters by trying to make them fit in a checkbox. Just write them well, and you can write whatever characters you want. Just write them well. Make the story something relatable, something creative. Don't write nonsense. Don't write bad stories. If a red lightsaber definitively meant you're a Sith Lord, then there would have been no doubt in The Phantom Menace that Maul was a Sith, but the Jedi weren't sure at first. This is a topic I'm seeing a lot of. I think it's because in The Phantom Menace they say the Sith have been presumed extinct for however many centuries. So the idea of one showing up and the Jedi seeing it 100 years prior doesn't necessarily fit with the lore. But this argument has just devolved into nonsense. Like, it's not about a red lightsaber. I think Star Wars Theory tweeted about it, and he said something about killing anyone that sees a red lightsaber. And so now that's the discussion. That shouldn't be the discussion. The discussion is whether there is a Sith in the story and whether the Jedi know about it. That's what matters in terms of lore. And maybe it is lore breaking. Maybe it does break lore. Disney Star Wars has done that. I'm sure they'll do it again. Doesn't mean the story will be bad. We'll see. I don't like lore breaking. But give it a shot. Let it come out. We'll see if it really does break the lore. We can't assume it does or doesn't yet. Just reserve that judgment for when it comes out. For better or for worse. Are we really still going to pretend like we don't know that the Jedi are literally just a religious cult that indoctrinates children by taking them away from their parents and forcing them to become child soldiers, whilst also making them emotionally dysfunctional in the process? Maybe it's because I haven't read the High Republic books. Maybe I'm missing something here. as far as I knew, there wasn't really any kind of wars going on back then. Maybe you could almost make this argument for the Clone Wars, though not really. I don't think the Jedi are forcing anybody away to train. It's pretty obvious you need to be dedicated to it. This take's just kind of all over the place. I mean, I don't really know what to do with it. I also don't know whether this person liked the show or not. Were they a fan of the trailer? Were they not a fan?
I don't give a.
Well, that seems like enough of that for today. There's a million reasons why people may have disliked the trailer. I think, in my personal opinion, it's got something to do with just the overarching plot of Disney Star Wars. I think people are really dismayed with where it all ends up. A lot of people are disappointed that their heroes from the original trilogy end up having a lot of their successes undone. They don't like what happens with Luke. They don't like what happens with Han. Maybe they don't like what happens with Kenobi. And I think a lot of that just creates this cynicism for the franchise. So it's hard to get invested in something even 100 years before the prequels. It really just feels like it's going nowhere. Now, maybe the show will be good. Andor was good. Andor was well written. I enjoyed it. I also enjoyed quite a bit of The Mandalorian, despite a lot of people not agreeing, deciding that the character work was poor or whatever. I'll say I enjoyed the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian. But I get it. People have a hard time committing to this franchise. It's been a rough road for longtime fans. There's a lot of reasons why you might not be invested anymore. I think the last thing we should do is try to tear each other apart and call each other things like racists or sexists or bigots or whatever because we don't like something that somebody else might like, and vice versa. I wouldn't call you a terrible person because you did like it. So that's all I've got to say about that. Stay off of Twitter. It's never been worth your time, no matter who owns it. But that's all I've got to say. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Keep writing, keep rocking. I'll see you next time.